He doesn't like that fucking orphanage, apparently.
Well, Tom says no, and Harry is sure it's the same kind of no that he himself gave Dumby.
Which is pretty telling.
Yeah.
A liar knows a liar.
Yeah.
Just saying.
At this point, Dippet sends Tom off, and Harry follows him. Which, this whole thing is a little bit weird because it's Tom's memory, but we started the memory before Tom was in the room.
Yeah, how could he possibly know anything that was going on in the room before he got there?
I don't know how Harry could have been watching that. So yeah, he has to follow him. I would assume that it would just, force you along, but I don't know, maybe not. Tom stops and thinks hard, and then, right as he looks like he reaches a decision, he takes off, and Harry follows. Eventually, they reach the entrance hall, and a tall wizard with long auburn hair and a beard call out to them, "What you doing wandering around this late, Tom?" And it's Dumby. Tom tells him that he had to see the headmaster, and Dumby's like, "Okay, well, run along, best not to hang around the corridors, given the shit that's going around right now." I don't know why nobody gave Tom a escort, if it's that dangerous right now. Just walk him back to his room.
Just send him off to his room by himself. Yeah, that's how a lot of horror movies start, I feel.
Yeah.
Probably not the smartest, but then Dumbledore's not one for a whole lot of discretion anyways, so maybe this tracks with who he is.
Yeah, I mean, people believe in the last book he thought a 12-year-old should go after the Dark Lord, so it's totally feasible that he thinks that this kid can totally take on the beast from the chamber.
So Riddle watches him walk out of sight, and then he just goes to the dungeons anyways. But to Harry's disappointment, he didn't go into a hidden passageway or a secret tunnel, but to the same dungeon that Harry has potions class in with Snape.
And then they did a squat.
Yeah. So the torches were all out when they got into the room, and Riddle pushed the door almost closed, just so that Harry could barely see him watching out into the hallway. They sat for almost an hour, just sitting and waiting, and Harry was just wishing he could maybe go back to his bed. Like, hey, cool memory, did you hang out for 9 hours? Can you just maybe wake me up in a little while when shit gets interesting, or what? But they just sit there, and then they hear something pass by the door. Tom slides out of the door quietly behind, and Harry follows, forgetting that he couldn't be heard, so he's creeping down the hallway with Tom. I got a kick out of this. He's like, oh shit. And they walked for maybe 5 minutes or so before Tom stopped pretty abruptly and then listened to somebody speaking.
"Come on, gotta get you out of here. Get in the box." And Harry recognized something about that voice.
Now, Jim Dale is the narrator of the audiobook that Jade and I listened to take our notes for this podcast. And he does a very good job of differentiating between the voices. So Hagrid young is close to the same voice as Hagrid old, but there's little differences. He does a really good job of doing young Hagrid and making him sound just like old Hagrid.
No, I agree with you. Tom steps out from around the corner, and Harry can see the outline of a very large boy. "Good evening, Rubius. What are you doing down here, Tom?" he asks. And Riddle steps closer, and he's like, "It's all over. They're gonna shut down the school if it doesn't stop. I'm sure you didn't mean to kill anybody. You just let it out to get some exercise, but monsters don't make very good pets, bud."
He's doing good cop right now.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, dude, I totally understand why you murdered that woman in cold blood." That's not exactly what he's accusing him of, but it's something like that. No, I get it. Just admit to me that that's what you did.
Just put the knife down, and everyone will be fine. And at this point, the boy gets very upset. "It never killed no one," he starts yelling. And Harry can hear a funny clicking and rustling noise. And Tom's like, "Come on, Hagrid. The dead girl's parents are going to be here tomorrow. The least Hogwarts can do is make sure the thing that killed their daughter is slaughtered." He even uses that word, which is a pretty dick thing to do. I'm sorry. I get it. I get what he's implying here. It killed somebody. They should slaughter. But, that's his pet. Be a little nice.
Is it his pet? Or is it something he's just trying to hide? It didn't really out and say it was his pet. I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't know.
I think I was just going on the way he was speaking to it.
That's true. And he did come to its defense immediately.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anything bad to happen to it. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it is probably his pet.
Hager keeps protesting as Riddle tells him to stand aside and pulls out his wand. The force of the spell lit the corridor, and the door flew open and knocked the big boy into the wall opposite. It let something out that made Harry scream a long, piercing scream unheard by anyone.
A vast, low-slung creature with many hairy legs and many eyes and a pair of razor-sharp pincers.
Do you think you would scream if you saw that?
I would absolutely scream. Well, it's a spider. It's obviously a spider.
Yeah, like a giant one, though.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't actually even scream. I would probably feign scream because no air would actually come out, and I'd probably just black out from terror.
I feel like I would probably swear a lot. Something along the lines of, "Oh, fuck no!" Or, "What the fuck is that?" I mean, also, I would be running, like, as I was yelling, you know? This wouldn't be like a Frozen thing. This would be like, "What the fuck is that? Everybody get out." But anyways, the thing scuttles away past Riddle out of sight. And Riddle tries to go after it with a raised wand, but the large boy jumps on him, yelling, "No!" And this is when the scene whirls away and Harry feels himself fall onto his bed, the diary open on his stomach. Before he can get a handle on himself, Ron comes in and he's like, "What the fuck happened to you?"
Yeah, because when he came to, he was like cold sweat, breathing hard, freaked the fuck out, right?
I feel like if you're a 12-year-old boy, though, and you walk into a room and your buddy is like covered in sweat and panting, and he's got a book on his chest, you should probably not ask questions.
Yeah, just leave him be. Just walk away. Don't even say anything. Just leave the room.
Just leave and act like you didn't come in.
But yeah, of course, he comes in and he's like, "What's wrong?" And Harry, in his shock, tells him it was Hagrid. Hagrid is the one who opened the Chamber of Secrets. In the last book, Hagrid can't seem to keep his mouth shut. I'm really surprised that something didn't fall out of his mouth before now. With all of this Chamber of Secrets stuff going on, Hagrid would be like, "Oh, yeah, that was a pretty rough day." And Harry would be like, "Oh, wait, what? You know some shit about some shit?"
On one hand, I think that it's come up once or twice that he's embarrassed about why he got expelled. So that might be the reason. It is a little bit weird that we haven't seen him, like, talking to Dumbledore a little bit more or something, because he was caught for doing this. So you would think that, for sure, Dumbledore has probably asked him about this.
Oh, yeah, they had to have had a conversation after this.
Like, if it opened back up, you would think that people would be upset and be like, why is Hagrid still here on the school grounds?
Oh, yeah, something must have been done about this, and obviously he's not a threat.
Right.
But, yeah, the other thought I had is maybe Hagrid didn't open it himself. Maybe he was just like the Beastmaster, so he could be like, "Oh, you have a big giant spider problem? That's nothing. I can handle a big giant mud blood eating spider." And him volunteering, like, "I'll take care of this," to get the spider. Now, he wasn't going to destroy it. He was going to sneak it off and probably turn it into a bat, because we know that's just what Hagrid does, and that may be what he got in trouble for. I don't know. I will punctuate that by saying we have reached the point of the books where I don't have any more foreknowledge. I remembered the first book pretty well. In this book, until maybe the 5th or 6th chapter, I was pretty knowledgeable. But at this point, I'm basically a new reader. I have read them. And again, I do know a whole bunch of pretty major plot points later on in the series. But as far as all this little detail stuff goes, I don't remember none of it. So when I got to it was Hagrid, my mind was a little blown. Like, what? Hagrid was doing some shit with the Chamber of Secrets? No way. And I finished the Audible and I looked at Jade and I go, it was Hagrid? What the fuck?
Much like Harry and Ron are, I'm sure, doing
Right. Oh, yeah.
But that's the end of our chapter. So, if you didn't know that it was Hagrid before now, or you have any thoughts about this chapter, make sure that you get a hold of us. You can email us at podcastatt@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at podcastatt, or all the things. You can also find us on Twitter at podcast_ATT, and on Untapped at podcastatt.
Wow, you just knocked that shit right out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
Nice job, JD.
Everything but Patreon.
That's right. If you guys wanted to help this podcast grow, you can do so by going to patreon.com/podcastatt. For $6 a month, you'll get access to deep cuts, gag reels, another one of which I just uploaded today. You'll also get a totally unscripted, totally sober shout out. Okay, one of those things is true. But yeah, that helps us pay for our podcasting costs and hopefully soon hosting our own website.
That would be fun. They can find all your shit in one place.
That's right. Not to mention a web player, so you can listen to it while you do absolutely anything else online if you're on an actual computer, which I think would be pretty cool.
And we will be sure to keep you updated, especially if you make sure to like and subscribe to anywhere that you can. And also, make sure to leave a review, because we really like to hear from you and know that you like us. It's like super awesome.
Yeah, it helps by making this podcast easier to find. So I think that covers us for this week. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and we'll see you real soon.
Bye.